Thank you very much, Sham sir. Namaskar from India.
Ushavati Shetty, ma'am, please introduce yourself.
Uh, if I have to say in one word, I will say I am a teacher by heart. Founder and director of C4 Synergy, have been into the field of education for the past 25 years. And journey has been from teacher to the vice principal and principal. And now I am at a position where I am heading one entity which is named C4 Synergy. So, if one word, if I have to introduce myself, I am teacher by heart.
Thank you, Ushavati, ma'am. Quality Council of India, Government of India, NAVIT
Mm.
assessor. You are the and engage in this institution. You have transit from a teacher to founder and director. What pivotal decision shape your leadership transit?
Oh, that is a very reflective question, Sham sir. And I would say my journey has never been about position. My journey has always been about purpose. When I began my journey as a teacher, my focus was on impacting every individual student in my classroom. But over time, I realized that if I wanted to create a larger impact, a bigger impact in the society, in the globe around us, then I needed to move into roles that could influence systems. And when we talk about systems, it is not just about the classrooms that we are teaching as a teacher. Each transition, if you see, I have moved from being a teacher to the supervisor. I have moved to the position of vice principal. I have headed the institution at the role of a principal. I was a campus head, and now a conscious decision that I have taken is to expand that sphere of impact. The most pivotal moment was when I chose to step beyond these institutional boundaries and establish C4 Synergy. That decision came from a very deep realization that when we talk about education system, today's education requires integration, and that integration has to be in terms of academics, in terms of the mental health of the students, in terms of the skills that the students have, and also the industry exposure. And I wanted to create a platform that is agile, that is future focused, that is capable of addressing the real gaps that we have in today's education system. So, if I had to summarize, Shamsar, my journey has been shaped by one core principle, that is moving from teaching content in the classroom to actually enabling transformation, and transformation in a very big way, global way. So, sir.
Okay. And what are the biggest systemic gaps you see in today education ecosystem and how should leaders address them?
Okay, systemic gaps, if we look at the system very honestly, Shamsar, one of the most significant gap is the disconnect between what we teach in the classrooms and what the actual world demands. We still have a very strong emphasis on the theoretical knowledge that we are teaching in the classroom. The focus is more on completion of the syllabus. We are teaching the students a certain content so that the child can write the examination. We are more focused on the examination outcome, while the real world is asking for problem solving. They're asking for skills. They want problem solving, they want adaptability, innovation. And the gap creates a mismatch between education and employability. Another critical gap that I notice, or I figure out, is in terms of the emotional and the mental well-being of the students. And why alone students, teachers as well. Students today are far more aware the kind of information they are getting in the internet, the kind of attention span that has gone down because of the reels that we see on Instagram and all. Unfortunately, our systems are still not in line with the psychological support that a child should be getting in the schools. Leaders today, I think, must shift their focus from being just the administrators to being vision architects. We need more of integrated, experiential, and skill based learning. We need curriculum which are embedded with emotional intelligence. We need to encourage interdisciplinary thinking, and most importantly, we have to move from a one size fits all model to a more personalized learning approach. Education should evolve, sir. I think from being more content driven, it should be competency driven. That is what I feel, sir. Held in Nepal. I clearly remember it was in the month of August last year, and representing India at Nepal for the SAARC summit, where all the other neighboring countries were there. It was a great moment for me, a moment of honor and privilege for me. The I still get goosebumps when I recall the memories of our national anthem being played and all the other countries standing for us and our flag being waving there. So it was a really very emotional and very privileged moment for me, Shamsar, and all thanks to you. I was very happy to be a part of the SAARC summit. What stood out to me was that across South Asia, despite the various cultural and economical diversity that we share, very similar educational challenges we are facing. Whichever country you check, the kind of panel discussion that we had and whatever takeaways that I had from there was, I could figure out that the challenges were same. It was in terms of the access, it was in terms of quality, it was terms in terms of equity, it was also in terms of relevance also. So the key takeaways was the importance of collaborative learning ecosystem, creating an ecosystem where all other countries can come together and we can collaboratively help each other instead of working in their own countries in silos. Countries can definitely benefit when there is immense amount of best practices that are shared, especially in areas like teacher training, digital education, research initiatives, mental health for that matter. As of now, I strongly believe that regional platforms like these are not just for policy discussions. These are opportunities to build collective intellectual capital. Education diplomacy, when leveraged well, we can accelerate progress for the entire region. And SAARC Summit was one such place where we really came together. We discussed ideas. We had a lot of good interactions, good network, good bonding with the global educators. So a lot of takeaways from that, sir. And thanks to you, Sham, sir. I again thank you for that opportunity for giving me the chance to represent India at Nepal for the SAARC Summit. Thank you.
It's our pleasure, Dr. Shetty. As a state guest in Sri Lanka, how did those
Mhm.
interactions influence your perspective on global education system?
That was another amazing experience, sir. After Nepal, the second visit was international visit was Sri Lanka, and being invited as a state guest by the Ministry of Education, I really cannot express my feelings how honored we were. We went as a delegation from India, and being received by the governor and the secretary of the state and Ministry of Education officials from there. It was again, I'll say, goosebump moment. In the experience was very truly insightful, sir, and we met a lot of other country officials also there. And what I observed, that the strong education system are not necessarily those with the most resources, but those which have got clarity, something which has got cultural alignment, something which had got consistency. Because I remember the moment we got down from the bus and when we were taken in, we were into the hall. We had a very beautiful cultural performance that was typical of the native of Sri Lankan welcome dance, and that was something where we felt very respected, and that is where I identified the cultural alignment in the education system. There was also a visible emphasis on discipline, the structured learning that we saw, the value based education that we saw when we visited schools there. We got the opportunity to visit universities and schools there, and we got the opportunity to interact with the teachers there one to one. So it reinforced my belief that while global exposure is really very important, education system system must remain rooted in their own social economic culture, and that enhances the value systems of the students, and at the same time creates a very strong base and foundation at a very very young level. It also highlighted the importance of how policies translate effectively into practice, because even the best framework are only strong if it is implemented. If it is just on paper, it just remains a kind of a policy, and there has to be some kind of a balance. So globally, the lesson is really very clear. Successful education system balances academic excellence, character building, and contextual relevance. This is the key takeaways that I got from the Sri Lankan conference. And thanks to Janaka sir, because of him, we were able to have a very beautiful experience in Sri Lanka. So yes, that was the key takeaway, sir, for me from Sri Lankan trip.
Dr. Shetty, with your
Yeah.
background in psychology, how do you
Mhm.
see the mental health landscape of students today?
Sham sir, honestly, I'll say, sir, today's children are really very well informed. Earlier, we were more connected to each other within the family as well, within the classrooms as well. But now, if you see, students might be more connected socially, maybe on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. They might have numerous followers, numerous friends. But somewhere, sir, we are at a very critical juncture when it comes to students' mental health. Today's learner, I will say, even though they are highly aware, highly informed, highly exposed to information, highly ambitious, but at the same time, they are dealing with a lot of pressures, lot of expectations, lot of academic pressure, lot of digital influence, lot of social comparison, and all of these, sir, are major contributing factors when we talk about the challenges a child is facing in today's times in terms of his mental health. And the encouraging part is that the conversation around mental health has already started. However, the awareness alone is not enough. We what we need is a structured integration. We have the information, we have the knowledge, but how do we put that mental health into the system of education? That is something which we have to work on. So mental health should not be treated as an intervention. That should be our base, that should be the foundation, and schools and colleges must build the emotional environment in the institution. They should have trained psychologists, counselors in the system who can support them. They should introduce life skills and resilience training. They should actually normalize talking about mental health. It should not be considered a taboo, because at the end of the day, sir, a student's ability to succeed depends not just on the intelligence but on the emotional strength and resilience and balance as well. So mental health discussion is very, very important, sir, and very critical.
Throughout your work in training and placement, what are the biggest gaps between education and employability?
That is very, very relevant question, Sham sir, because when I was working in my previous institution, I was looking into the employment or placement aspect as well. And what I realized is there is a very evident gap, sir. The content or curriculum which is taught in the classroom, the academics, and the real requirement in the industry, in the corporate world, that does not match. The world is moving at a very fast pace, but what we are still teaching in the classrooms, that often does not match with the industry requirement. Students often graduate with degrees, they clear off, they get good GPAs, but they do not have the ability to apply that knowledge in the real world. The industry as of today, sir, is looking for individuals who can think critically, who can communicate well, who can adapt to the situation very well, who have got real strong mental health. And one of the major gap is lack of practical exposure. So I feel live industry projects, internships, industry interactions, calling people from the industries and asking them to communicate with our students in the colleges and universities. These are the things which are really the need of the hour. And yes, now with the new education policy, all of these things are being implemented in India at least. And in the higher education sector, in the universities and all, we are also having on job training. So while the student is studying, the student is also learning and trying to gain real life industry exposure, which is actually the core requirement in the professional industry. So institutions are now actually moving towards partnerships. They are having collaborations with the industry. They are having real world events and activities conducted inside the institution campus. The students are trained to build their resume, to build their LinkedIn profile, to make sure that they are ready to face the interview before they are actually going out and giving real interviews outside. So mock interview trainings are given, and continuous career guidance sessions are happening in the university. So because today, sir, employability is not about qualification. Anybody can have a qualification, but there are people who are having degrees and they're not having jobs. So I would say it is all about the mindset, and it is about the capability and the intelligence that the student has to back that particular job. So really, it is going in the right direction. At least in India, I can say that. So institutions are really moving in the right direction, sir.
Dr. Shetty, what
Yeah.
skills should students prioritize to remain relevant in the next decade?
Very, very relevant question, sir, because when I look at the iPhone model now, the way it is changing, every year probably there is a new model that is coming up. That means imagine at what fast pace the world is changing. And your question said next decade, right? You are asking me
Yeah.
for next decade. So 10 years, sir, from 10 years from now, we really do not know what changes are happening in the coming next 10 months. So it is a very, very VUCA world that we are living in, very volatile. And the future will definitely belong to students who are not just knowledgeable, but who have got the skills, at the same time who have got adaptability. So students need to combine a lot of different things. They should have critical thinking, they should have problem solving ability, they should have the ability to speak very well, to communicate very well. You can talk to the other person, but if the other person is not able to understand what you are saying, it just becomes a speech and it is a one sided. So the student should be able to communicate and put his points across. They should have good collaborative skills, because as we all have started using the jargon as your net worth is your network. So trying to collaborate with people and trying to understand their challenges and how they can collaboratively work together. Another important aspect is AI. AI is coming up in a very, very fast pace, and digital integration and literacy and adapting to the technology, that is also very critical in today's times. And of all of this, I will say mental resilience, emotional intelligence, and mental health. That person has to be mentally really very balanced to survive in the coming decade. And it is a continuous process, sir. The child has to be a lifelong learner. And in today's world, as I said, we don't know what is going to happen in the next 10 months, and we are talking about 10 years. So it's constantly evolving. And the most valuable skill is the ability to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. This is what we did in COVID time. We learned, we were unlearning what we knew, and we were learning something new, and we all came on to the digital mode. So that is something which is very, very important, and an open mindset that will define long term success for a student in the coming decade.
Dr. Shetty, you are deeply
Yeah.
involved in social initiatives. How
Yeah.
do you integrate social responsibility into education?
So for me, social responsibility is not some other aspect. It is not an external activity. I don't feel it like it is a separate part of our entity. I think it is an integral part of education. We are human beings. We are society animals. We have to live in a society. So social responsibility is something which is important and integral part of our education system. So students must experience it not only while they are learning, they have to integrate it into their curriculum as well. So through initiatives like community outreach activities, we take up a lot of tree plantation drives, we take up a lot of cleanup drives, a lot of beach cleaning activities, mangrove activities are taken up in terms of teaching the underprivileged students, in terms of empathy towards the other sector which are specially challenged, maybe disabled, kind of oneness towards them as well, a kind of empathy towards them. So, all of this needs to be a part of the curriculum. Education should just not create professionals. A student might go to a university, might get good certificate, might get good GPA, but in the end, he should also create a society where he is able to live like a social animal. Our education system should be such that it should create conscious citizens. It should have society should have individuals who are not just successful in their career, but they are constantly contributing towards the society as well. So then only I think there will be a balance for a sustainable progress. So that is what education should be doing, sir.
In last one word to define education today.
Yeah. One word, huh?
Yes.
I will say evolution, sir. Evolution. Because
Evolution.
education today is no longer static. It is a continuous adapting to new realities, new technologies, new human needs. And those who embrace this evolution will definitely lead the future, sir. So, evolution for me.
Thank you, Dr. Shetty. You gave very your valuable time in education show. At last, what do you say about in education show?
Or do you see about?
Education show. This is the education program in the
This education program. Oh,
yeah.
sir, you are sitting somewhere in Nepal and I am sitting somewhere in India, and but still we are connected through one little small box which is called as a laptop. So this kind of education show, which is live, which is online, which is connecting people, educators globally, I think it is a great initiative, sir, and it is a great learning exchange program wherein we are not confined to classroom teaching. It is what 9:30 in the night now, and each one who is watching this show might get the opportunity to view this maybe 2 months later, maybe 2 years later, maybe 20 years later also. That is the power of what you are doing today. You are using AI, you are using integrating AI into the system, and we are trying to promote or trying to understand each other's perspective and knowledge about what each one thinks about the education platform. And this is what I said in my initial talk also, that collaborative learning. This is what you are trying to bring together. So you're trying to bring all the globe together into one platform. And this is a wonderful education show. All my best wishes to you, sir. And hope your show goes really very, very far and wide. And people sitting in the extreme corners of the globe also are able to sit comfortably in their homes and watch Sham sir performing or conducting sessions sitting in Nepal, and me sitting here in India in my country, and we are communicating so they can be able to hear us. So you're doing a great show, sir, and all the best to all your future endeavors. And we will be coming to Nepal very soon, and we will be having a lot of collaborative initiatives in future as well, sir. So C4 Synergy is very honored and proud and privileged to be associated with Shikshalaya, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shetty. We are collaboration and we work together in online education platform also. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank